I would like
Oh,
to
yes.
introduce you to Namrata, who has joined us this evening from Chennai in India. It is 11 o'clock at night, and we're all here at 6 o'clock at night. But there's many of you joining from around the world, so please do put in the chat where you are joining us from, and thank you for joining. We can use the chat for questions. Namrata is going to use a presentation as she talks through a little bit about the history of cheese in India and her journey into cheese and cheese making. We have someone here from India as well, for some people from India. Fantastic. Thank you for staying up so late. I don't know, do you go to bed at what time do you go to bed at in India, or does it vary?
Oh, well, I'm usually out by this time. I sleep at 10 and I'm up at 4. So
yeah, okay, sounds familiar. Up early to start cheese making. We did have a competition as well, guys, to win the Namrata's cheeses that she managed to send over from India, and I'm really pleased to say that the winners were Mike and Natasha and Barbara. I'm not going to say their surnames because they might not want to be known, so I hope they've prepared theirs. I'm sorry there wasn't more, but hopefully one day we'll get Namrata's cheeses imported into the UK, and then we can all participate with the tasting as well. But I hope you've managed to maybe get some local buffalo or goats or cow's milk to nibble on while we all natter away. Anyway, Namrata, welcome. Thank you so much. Namrata is one of our training partners as well. So we have a number of training partners around the world who teach Academy of Cheese courses, and Namrata is out there in Chennai shouting about great cheese and educating people about all sorts of cheese. So and it's as well as cheese making and a cheese evangelist. But without further ado, that's such an old-fashioned thing, and I always say it. Without further ado, I think, Namrata, I'm going to hand over to you, and then I will ask you questions, but please do, people, put questions in the chat as well if you want to. Okay, Namrata, you're up.
Good. All right. Thank you, Tracy. I think it's a pleasure. I mean, I know, like I said, it's past bedtime, but I'm full of energy and was really looking forward to this. So I'm going to jump right into a presentation. The idea is that I think there's very little that people actually know about cheese that's made in India. I've been making cheese for the last 5 years, and I still get asked. So I live in Chennai, which is a really hot, humid, sultry seaside town. And people ask me, can you really make cheese there? So, well, not only in Chennai, but we make a lot of cheese throughout the country. So we're going to start with a little introduction and tell you few things. And like Tracy said, please feel free to drop your questions on the chat box. And I will keep this short so that we have more time for the conversation. Yeah? All right. So
that's great. I can see that, Namrata. That's super.
Great. Thank you, Tracy. So Indian artisan cheese, we have started making cheese in India for a really long time now, but I think it's only the last 5 years that we're speaking a lot about it. The picture that you see on the screen right now is one of my current favorites. It's a French style soft cheese, but we're making it with camel milk, and we'll talk a little more about that as we go along. We're going to talk about history and tradition of cheese making in India. We're also going to take a quick look at what Indian artisan cheese makers are doing, the range of livestock and the incredible terroir that we have in India. A bit about my journey as well in the last 5 years, as typical businesses grow and in the cheese making environment as well. The moment you talk about growth and scale, there are some challenges that come with it. I would like to think that we're thinking about these challenges very differently, and we'll talk about what we're doing to overcome those. And in India, I think consumption of cheese by itself is pretty unique, and we will talk a little about that as well. So this is something very recent. We're talking about history, but this was in late 2020, I think in September 2020, that an archaeological discovery was made that about 4,500 years back in the western part of the country, the part that you see in red over here, is where some cheese was being made. And this was a lactic style cheese. There is enough archaeological evidence. I'm happy to share the link, Tracy, and that can be shared with the group as well. And this was done about, like I said, 4,500 years back. But what happened eventually is also something that's been documented. Cheese making uses animal rennet, and that was a taboo in India because the cow primarily is an animal that I'm sure most of you have heard about, has a lot of religious sentiments attached to it. So we somewhere along the line, we stopped making cheese. And then the Portuguese arrived in the 16th century, and they taught us that cheese could actually be made by breaking down the milk with acidic material. So paneer, which is so famous as the cheese from India, was not really Indian in that sense. It was the Portuguese in the 16th century who taught us how to make the paneer. And that is consumed in India in many different forms, right from our desserts to a lot of savory things and the paneer as you know it. But these are certain kind of cheese you see in the picture over here are lactic style rennet cheeses that are made in the hills that are still being made there. And these are from a range of animals that you find in the mountains, primarily yak. You see a lot of yak milk in the mountains of India. And but these have never really made it to mainstream. So you have something called churpi, there is bandel, which is from the eastern Himalayas. There's churu, the conical ones, and they look really fascinating. On the far right, again, you see some cheese which is being sun-dried. So the churu, churpi, bandel, kalari. Kalari is almost like a mozzarella. It's, well, I would say it's a cross between a mozzarella and a halloumi. But like I said, it's really hard to find this cheese in India. They are all very native and sort of in the mountains where they make it. They never come down to the plains or the mainstream or the cities.
Which is the middle one, Namrata? The middle one.
That's the churu. That's the churu. The churpi is the one on the right.
That looks amazing. It looks absolutely fascinating. So why is it that shape?
They are actually weaved baskets. So they put in the basket. And so I think the cheese mold, Tracy, is something. So if you look at Spain again, you have weaved baskets which were used as mold, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing. There are baskets, there are terracotta pots. These were the earliest cheese molds.
Wow. And what sort of size is that cheese then? What is it sort of?
Well, it's
12 inches.
I'm not very sure about the height, but it's about they're about 300 grams to 450 grams, so they're not very big. They're just small little shapes. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So that's one part of it, but then the mainstream India, as we know it, screams Amul cheese. Amul is a giant. Amul is it's a dairy brand which is available throughout the country. They make processed cheese in huge quantities. So when you say cheese in India, the first thing that comes to mind is Amul. We are a population of 1.3 billion, and 35% of that is in the city. So I'm just going to talk about the urban cityscape where you have all the cheese eating consumers. And for most of them, Amul cheese is something that they still cannot avoid. Now, compared to that,
sorry, Namrata, a question from me. Isn't Amul cheese? So is it very processed? What would it be equivalent to in British cheese? Is it like or American cheese? Is it like I can see cubes in your picture, but is it like sliced cheddar?
You have them. No, it's not cheddar. It's not. It's a pure processed product, Tracy. It's like it's Kraft.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Amul is trying to change that image. They have also acquired sort of artisan cheese producers in the mountain. I think that's a little bit of a marketing gimmick there, but they are a processed cheese producer. So it is nothing close to a cheddar, They are the cubes and slices. And yeah, well, Kraft is one brand that I can think of.
Ah, okay,
Yeah,
so
very
Kraft slices, yeah, okay.
yes.
And on the
Yes.
last slide, Keith was asking, hi Keith, how you doing? Thanks for joining. Are the
Hello.
cheeses, are those cheeses that are, you know, the cheeses that are made in the communities in India, are they only to cook with, or do they eat them? I think we're going to get to this sort of afterwards, aren't they? The sort of the how
No,
people eat
so
in
no,
India.
that's a very, very, yeah, that's a very, very relevant question. And so these forms of cheese were made for milk preservation. When milk was in abundance, this cheese were made and they lasted through the year. So they usually made like this, they dried out, they sun dried, and they eaten as a snack. They eaten as cheese. Very few of them actually used for cooking. Using cheese for cooking is a very again urban and modern thing that happens in the cities, but these cheeses are consumed as they are. I mean, there's bandel, of course, which is smoked and highly salted, so you would need to soak it in water, squeeze some of that salt out, otherwise it's really, really salty.
But you were saying they grate them as well, don't they? Did you say they grate them?
Yeah, I mean, you could crumble them. Yeah, grating is not really a, yeah, they're very crumbly.
Not many graters out in the urban, out in the rural areas.
True. So the grating is more sort of in the modern day. There are a lot of award-winning chefs who have worked in different parts, and they have been looking for native cheese. And these cheeses are making quite a few rounds of people writing about them. So they have sought out, they found some, and they buy them in really small quantities. But maybe you have like a really fancy pasta dish and a little bit of cheese grated on top of it.
Okay.
But it's very, very hard for the common layperson to actually go looking for them and really buy them.
And Samuel's asking, are they made with unpasteurized milk or pasteurized milk?
I think they should be unpasteurized. And Samuel should be able to tell you. He's an aspiring cheesemaker from the hills. He's trying to revive an old form of cheese that was being made in the mountains, a Swiss cheese. So Samuel should be able to throw some light on that.
Sorry, it was Franco that was asking, are they made unpasteurized cheese? Samuel is saying we make and sell chirpy, so fantastic. Hi,
yes.
Samuel. We have another cheesemaker with us. And he's saying they are mostly used for shredded salads in the Himalayan region. Fantastic.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's unpasteurized milk, not pasteurized.
Unpasteurized.
There's no way to pasteurize them, really, is there?
Yeah.
We've lost your video, actually, Namrata, of you. I don't know if you've turned your. We can see your slide, but we can't see you, which is sad.
So I think it's only after I take my slide off, Tracy. I don't know. There's some kind of setting. So yeah. So like I was saying,
there's much talk in the chat about this slide, about the cheese on the left. So tell us all about it.
So the one on the left in this particular slide is the famous award-winning cheese from India. So India had a first-time entry into the World Cheese Awards. It's the famous Scandinavian brown cheese. So this particular cheesemaker, who's from Mumbai, makes this. It's like a Brunost. And the thing was that being in the heart of a densely populated urban city like Mumbai, disposing whey was always a problem. So she decided to give it a go and try to be more sustainable and started making the Brunost. Yeah, so the Brunost is the one that won the recent silver, and yeah, it's been it's quite amazing. It sort of talks about the journey of Indian cheesemakers as well, and like I was saying, in a huge population, we are just a handful of about 20 plus artisan cheesemakers who are trying to find their own path.
That's amazing that it's so few, isn't it?
Yes.
And
it's a growing tribe.
That cheese is made with cow's milk.
It is with cow's milk, yes.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah. So yeah, so from there I'm going to jump a little bit into my story as a cheesemaker. You will see my video in just a bit, but that's me holding a bowl of camel milk, and that's lots of camel behind me, and that's a recent project where I've started working with the community, um, making camel milk cheese.
Wow,
So
wow, wow, wow. This is the big thing, because next year will you have the camel milk cheese to enter in the World Cheese Awards, do you think?
oh, absolutely. Yes. Because when I started working, I think I was told by some people who had worked with camel milk saying it's a very stubborn milk, it's very difficult to work with it. And the only thing you can make it with it is feta. But Tracy, what's been amazing is we've been able to make some hard cheese. The halloumi is outstanding with camel milk because camel milk by nature is quite salty. And we have been able to make some lactic style cheeses. The feta itself is not great with camel milk, but there are some outstanding cheese. The best one that I really liked was the ricotta. It's fluffy. It's almost like cloud. So it's one that I'm really excited about. And I think the next lot of cheese that I'm going to try and send out to you for some tasting is going to be camel cheese.
Oh, that would be amazing. I'm sure there's a lot of us that would like to try it. Maybe when we get you to London.
Yes.
So we've got a couple of
Yes.
questions around the camel milk. Is it
Sure.
a very strong flavour? And another one, is camel milk high in protein and low in fat?
So camel milk has a very different protein structure. The primary protein in cow milk is casein, and that's what we work with. So camel milk is pepsin. Hence, the normal rennet, the microbial rennet that we work with for cow milk does not work for camel milk.
Oh.
Yeah, so C.H.R. Hansen, in fact, has formulated camel milk, rennet, and that is the one. I think it's called Farm M, and that's the thing that works. And by nature, camel milk has two kinds of fat. It's got a long chain and a short chain. So the structure of the milk itself is quite challenging. What is really unique about the milk as well is when the milk is spoiled or has started to curdle, there is no change visually. So you would not be able to tell that the milk has changed and the microbial activity is high. So it's not, it's pretty similar to donkey milk as well. And again, I don't think that's common. Not many of us would have worked with donkey milk, but it's a very interesting milk to work with. It does not taste strong. See, I think here is where also the beauty of terroir and the kind of animals and livestock diversity comes into play. Camels live in very harsh conditions. They graze. They typically, the herd can walk up to 100 kilometers in a day. And there is huge diversity of plants that a camel feeds on. And I was told by the community that it's as high as 56 to be accurate.
Wow.
So all of that affects the milk. The milk is very different from anything that we know.
You must
which is your goat sheep.
To be able to make good cheese with that milk, your cheese making skills must be brilliant, because it sounds like it is very tricky.
Tracy, that's really kind of you, but I think I have just felt really humbled, honestly, to be able to experience things like this. When I started out on this journey, I had no idea what I was getting into. Yeah, so I think I have had an amazing teacher. Many of you would have heard of David Usher, and I was extremely fortunate to be trained under him for a while. So that also gave me the confidence of being a cheesemaker.
Fantastic.
So it is. I'll tell you more about the camel milk as such, but I think it's very interesting. What I would say is the cow milk is not as challenging. Neither is goat. They're very easy milks to work with. But the camel milk, of course, is because right from the coagulation time to the ripening, everything is a little tricky.
Sounds it.
So I think my journey of 5 years was primarily working with the cow and the goat milk that was available. And also for me and Kaiser as a company, so I have a lovely business partner that I work with. Social cause has been at the heart of a lot of things that we do, which means that, you know, we work with girls who are differently abled. We try to source milk that's absolutely clean, and we call it ethically procured, which means that the farms do not let the animals graze. They do not separate out the young ones. The older cows in the herds are not sent to a slaughterhouse. There is a balance. There is a healthy balance of in the herd itself, and there are many different breeds that are available in the country. So we try to stick to native breeds, which also means that they are a little more sturdy, meant for that kind of environment. So these are few things that we take into consideration. Hence, when we started growing, and that is when we're talking about growth scale, as the demand has grown, we decided that we're not just going to grow in one place. We started a journey which said that, okay, you know, let's go to where milk is available. And milk is not necessarily clean milk as we're looking for, was not available in the cities. So we had to look beyond, which meant we're going to these remote parts of the country, and we started working with pastoral communities. We got very lucky because we met some like-minded partners. We started working with them. And the goat in the picture is really important because it's just a 1 month old goat. And I was there when the milking was happening. This young one had enjoyed the milk that it wanted. And then after that, we were milking the goat to make the cheese. So we decided that, okay, you know, we're going to grow, we're going to scale up, but we're going to do it in a fashion which is sustainable, which is natural, and not necessarily driven by our own convenience.
That goat has got the most amazing length of ears.
They're huge. They're really floppy, big ears. And I'll probably share another picture where these goats are quite tall. They're really, really tall. And I always thought, Tracy, that the best yield of a goat is about 1.5 liters or 1 liter milk after the young one has suckled. But this particular breed of goats, they give about 5 liters.
Wow.
Which was, yeah, I mean, they're huge. So India does have this amazing goats again. And you just need to go looking for them and you'll find them.
You must be doing a lot of traveling, Namrata.
I do. The joke is that I just come back to meet my husband and pick up fresh clothes. And then I'm off again. So yes.
I'll have to find some more long-eared goats.
Yes. So well, like I said, you know, we're looking for alternate ways to grow. And one of the things, these two boys in the picture are very important because these are people from the herding community. They belong to a goat herd community. Their generations has been into this business of rearing animals. And they had never had cheese in their lives. You know, cheese is not something that they eat. They know their milk very well, though. They know their animals really well. So these are my cheesemakers. They're working in a goat cheese making unit only in a very remote part of the country. They are now making chef, and they make goat milk halloumi, a Greek style feta, there's storm, and a goat milk cheddar. And so that is what we're trying to do. We're trying to empower these communities, create that impact, make cheese, and in turn, linking this to the market as well. Right? So consumers get great cheese, and it's not just profits that drives the whole thing, but we are also creating impact.
So where is this particular cheese making unit based?
This is in the western part of the country called Gujarat. So Gujarat has huge herds of native breeds of goats, camel, and also a particular breed of donkey, which is a high-yielding donkey. I haven't worked with it yet, but I definitely plan to. So this is from the western part of the country. And I'm in Chennai, which is like the eastern coast, and this is the western part of the country. Yeah.
Okay. And did you teach them how to make cheese? Or did you have one of your ladies go out and teach them?
No, I'm the only instructor right now, so I spend a week at a new unit, and then I come back and remotely manage it, and I keep going back there once every month, and I spend a week. So there, I also work with a group, so there is a food safety consultant. We have the checks in place. There are people to do a little bit of quality control and all of that, but I am the primary trainer.
Wow, amazing. Absolutely amazing. That's fantastic. So the milk that they're using to create this cheese in the unit has come from the local area.
Oh, it does. Yes. Absolutely. Local sourcing.
Amazing. And then those cheeses that are made, do you collect them to sell in Chennai or in your shop, or do they you have a delivery van?
So I've tied up with, of course, Blue Dart shipping. So Blue Dart is our primary shipping partner.
Okay.
The cheese is sold through our website, which is chennai.com, or we have, so the cheese is listed and sold through the website. We ship through the country. We are primarily a B2C sort of company, but of course we do supply to restaurants as well. So I work out. So I think as a consultant or as a cheesemaker or a partner for these kind of community enterprises, what I bring to the table is the website, the social media, talking about them, making people aware that we have such kind of milk available in the cheese, all of that. So these are all
you're creating the market for them, aren't you?
There is a certain market that's already been created over the last 5 years. So I'm giving more options to the consumer and then trying to make cheese at different places and create this impact as well. Yeah.
Fabulous. So we've got a couple of questions here from Keith, if you're happy to take those now.
Oh, absolutely. Yes.
So how many varieties of cheese do you think there are in India now then? Because obviously it was fairly limited. And Namrata and I were talking about this before. If you asked anybody in the UK about Indian cheese, we would all say, oh, well, I know paneer, and that's it. And his second, so how many varieties of cheese are there in India? And then what styles of cheese are there? Are they similar in style to those UK consumers may be more familiar with, e.g. cheddar, feta, crumbly, blue, etc.?
Oh, absolutely. I think there is very little blue because, to answer Keith's question, Keith, there's a lot of fresh cheese that's being made. People associate mozzarella to be very close to paneer, of course. It's not, but then just the fact that it's milky and it's white and it's fresh. So we consume a lot of mozzarella. There's a lot of cream cheese. There is feta, of course, but feta is a very divided thing because there are some who believe that in the traditional Greek feta, which is sheep milk, and it's strong and salty, so there are feta lovers and feta haters. But in India, we're making all kind of feta style cheese. So I, for one, work with camel for a camel milk feta. There's goat milk. There isn't too much sheep milk that's available at the moment, but cow and buffalo as well. And then there is the range of hard or mature cheese. So with a lot of cheese makers, the Gouda, of course, there is cheddar. I don't know how, but then some cheese like the Fontina, the Montasio are extremely popular, and they have been made for a very long time. People love Parmesan.
Are those more mass produced though, or in small communities?
No, they're small individual. Like I said, this 20 odd cheese makers that I'm talking about, Tracy. People have got their area of expertise, right? So typically somebody would make a lot of fresh cheese and maybe 1 or 2 styles of mature cheese, because maturing cheese itself, affinage, is a very different game altogether. So, and also preserving, how do you store it, where do you store it, how do you age your cheese? Cheese caves are not accessible or available. So you need to make a few hacks to create storage environment, aging environment as well. But yeah, so similar to, there is brie. There are a couple of producers who make brie. There are some who are attempting to make the Parmesan as well in the hills. So there is a lot, there was a lot of Gruyere being made and people loved it. But suddenly all the cheesemakers in India who are getting Gruyere got a legal notice saying you can't call it a Gruyere or a Gruyere style. So you suddenly see that it's gone off the website for most of them, and including us. And yeah, so I think not many make blue.
I think the key thing that I've taken from talking to you and working with you as a training partner is that, like a lot of cheesemakers, they use the similar recipes that from the European cheesemakers. You know, they use similar recipes, but then, as we can see from these lovely photographs here, they put that you put your own take on it and make it, you know, your own cheeses.
Absolutely. So I think this slide is supposed to be a bit of fun because introducing I don't think a British consumer would look at it like this. For you, a spice cheese would be a novelty and something that you would want to try once in a while. But with the Indian consumer, a little bit of spice always does the trick, right? So this is too bland. Add a little bit of chili, and I'm good to go. Add some herbs, and I'm good to go. So this essentially is talking about the different kind of consumers and their palate. So I hear this all the time saying, oh, your cheese is good. You know, I like natural cheese. I would want something which is free of preservative. Yet I want it to be as close to processed cheese in taste as possible because my child really likes that. Yeah, and that gets me all the time because I'm not a mole cheese, but then that's something that you'll have to put up with as a cheesemaker in India.
We need to get the child eating the real cheese before the process.
Yes,
is the key to that.
Yes. But, well, it wasn't an option before, but you do get them now. And then you have a lot of them who say, oh, I'm really looking for something nice, cheesy, gooey, melty, something that's going to be really nice for my sandwiches, but I do not like anything smelly. So please make sure it does not smell. So, well, you have that. And then you have this incredibly well-traveled, polished Indian with a really nice accent who comes up to you and says, oh, you don't think your brie is good enough? It's not a brie de mar. I did have one and it's not quite the same cheese, but it's okay. So,
you can't win sometimes.
Yes, so but it's funny, right? So this is, like I said, this is, essentially all the consumer segments that you have. I, for one, love my chef on a roti, hot flat bread or something, or local grain. And I belong to that category where I can eat my cheese and I love my cheese and I love all the stinky blue. So I think what is also really unique about Keza and what we do is we make cheese across all the categories. So we make washed rind, we make blue, we make, a manchego and all that, because I do not want to put the consumer in a box and say, oh, you know what, my consumer does not like a blue. There is always a consumer for something. So
you were saying about, sorry to interrupt, you were saying about the blue cheeses, that there's not many blue cheesemakers or in India.
I cannot think of anyone right now apart from us who makes a blue. And we make about 3 or 4 different styles. So I make a cam blue. We do a Stilton style as well. There was a gorgonzola that I did for a while, but of course the takers are so few and that the block is so big that we had to gift away most of those cheese or wait for events, and then COVID happened. But I can't think of anybody else who really makes a blue.
We've got another question here for you from thank you, from Heather, and she's saying, how about water buffalo cheeses and milk-based sweets?
So there are a lot of water buffaloes, and there's some amazing mozzarella that's being made in the country, especially in the northern part of the country where there's a lot of buffalo available. So that's definitely happening. But I don't work with a lot of buffalo milk, and even the ones that I do, I sort of make a hard cheese with them.
Yeah, of which we've got one of them here, haven't we, tonight?
Yes, you do. The
paprika, which I think was my favourite out of the 3, actually. The one, that's nice. We can see you again now.
Yes.
Is there any other questions for Namrata on the sort of history of Indian cheese and where the market is? It's amazing that there's only kind of, in such a massive population, that 20-ish, not much more than 20 artisan cheese.
No, but that's counting, and there are many. Like I said, I know Samuel, who's joined us today, and he's an aspiring cheesemaker. There are many people, and I keep saying that it's not only cheesemakers, we need mongers as well, because as the market increases. So I think that's one of the primary reasons I wanted to be the training partner with AOC, and I started out last year saying, we need people to make the cheese and also talk about the cheese. Education is a huge part of this. So it's really, really, yeah.
And so presumably there's lots of people around India that would make cheese with just for their own consumption on the kitchen table, or not?
No, because rennet is not available. So rennet is imported into the country by about 4 or 5 importers. We don't make any rennet, microbial rennet, or any rennet in the country. And they're only available in industrial packs of 2 kilos and 5 kilos, larger packs. So imagine as a home cheese maker, why would you buy so much rennet?
No, I suppose they might make natural, fresh cheeses and lactic cheeses, so that with the
but I think that culture of making cheese at home is not so much. So we do sell some cheese making kits. There are a couple of other people now, so we encourage people to try making. We get a lot of inquiries saying, I want to make cheese. And if it's professional people who are looking at becoming a cheesemaker, then I do train, I work with them. But if it's a home cheesemaker hobby, I'm happy to refer them to buy a cheese making kit so that they can try making some cheese.
Yes, and bring them to you. So we've got a few more questions before we go on to the cheeses. What kind of style of hard cheeses do you make with buffalo milk? Well, we make this one here, the paprika. How can I get that up? Paprika provolone.
Provolone. Yeah.
So what was your decision to start making that then? Look at that lovely little hooky thing there. Love that. Sorry, I'm rubbish at getting this at the camera.
Yeah, no, that's fine. So, I mean, buffalo milk is great for making a mozzarella with it. And it's got it's fatty. It's so much more creamier than cow's milk. And provolone is, of course, one of those cheese that I absolutely love. So I've tried to use it to make this, and also for a manchego, which is sheep milk otherwise, but then buffalo has the same amount of fat. So we do make a manchego style with that as well.
Wow. You are making so many different cheeses as well. You just, you don't make all of those cheeses all of the time though, do you? You sometimes make one and not the other, or?
So I think having these different production places is also helping me. So I'm building stocks at different places depending on what the milk is. And so you know that rose infused cheddar that you absolutely adore from the pictures, right?
Yes,
and I figured goat milk. I will get some across to you. So the thing is that with the goat milk cheddar, the rose works brilliant. It's so beautiful. So I stopped making that with cow milk, and I'm just going to be making that with the goat milk. Yeah, and so
I think people would not understand that. So Namrata makes one of the goat's milk cheddar style, but you experimented and you use is it rose petals, or
it's dry rose petals? Yes.
Wow. And those are you mix those in with the fresh curd before pressing it.
Yes.
I love the way that you bring the Indian products and the traditional ingredients from around where you're making to create these unique cheeses, because we've got another one here tonight that's wrapped in a turmeric leaf.
Yeah.
And that's goat cheese as well, isn't it?
Yes, it's a fresh goat cheese. That's something I absolutely love. The turmeric leaf is seasonal. You get them only in January.
Okay.
We won't get them for the rest of the year, and they smell amazing.
Yeah. it's just stunning, and there was quite a lot of moisture with it wrapped around the cheese,
Yes.
and very delicate flavors.
It's something I've grown up with. So the turmeric leaf is actually a sort of tribute to the place that I come from. The leaf has a lot of significance. And we look forward to every year for a festive occasion where the leaves are used. So that was sort of my thing to my roots, saying I'm going to use this leaf.
So what's the significance? What is its power, or its
so turmeric leaf, turmeric by itself is something that's for long life, and it's got its own significance. So there is a festival where the fresh turmeric and the turmeric leaf are used to make a special dish for the elder child, to bless them with long life and fortune and everything. I'm the elder one in my place, so I used to look forward to every year to be pampered with that particular dish. So
it's only the eldest child every year. Oh wow, amazing. I love it. This is where you've been inspired from. It's fantastic. So let's just have a look if we've got any more. Lots of people wanting to try these cheeses, Namrata. We're going to have to get you over in London with a or somewhere in the UK, and then we'll ship them onwards and outwards. So do you want us to talk through the 4 cheeses that our 3 prize winners got, and I have and you have with this tonight? Some of the names
absolutely
are a bit
So we'll start with the cheddar, which was one of my favorite ones when I made it. So it's, people often think I have misspelled it and put a G at the end of the cheddar. So it was actually inspired a lot from the Cornish yard. I still remember my first time walking into Paxton and Whitfield and looking at those absolutely amazing looking Cornish yard wrapped in the nettle. And then, of course, I got a chance to go to Westcombe, and it was involved in the making of the cheddar. And
did you actually? Cheese, so you went to Westcombe Cheddar Makers, and did you?
Yes, I did.
To make cheese with them?
I did. So I met Christine when she came to India, and she tasted some of the cheese that we make. I, of course, didn't know who she was, and I put this platter full of 30 different kind of cheese, and I was talking, and she said, "Oh, we from Westcombe, we make cheddar." And I still remember the moment I literally pulled the platter back and said, "You should have told me who you are before."
See, that's good. That's good. So she was enjoying, and then invited you over.
She invited me over. I got to meet Tom and spent a couple of days there. So it was amazing. It was, I think, and so the cheddar is actually a combination of that trip and inspiration from that trip. I was working with a vineyard, and I wanted to curate and make something which is to be paired with a bold red wine.
Oh, nice. Keith is asking me to hold the cheese to the camera. I'm just
yes.
You obviously weren't watching. Do you well, I was going to say, tell us about your lovely ladies who are part of your team.
So the credit for the workforce and how we came up with that actually goes to Anuradha, my business partner. She is a person with social background, and we met for a coffee, and we're discussing this whole thing of, she wanted to set up a bakery unit with girls who are differently able. And I had just had my first brush with cheese making during a farm stay. And I said, you know what, I learned how to make feta and mozzarella. Why don't we teach the girls how to make cheese? And that's how this whole journey started. And we got recognized for that. We work with girls who are differently able, train them on cheese making. Well, not just cheese making, but the idea is that they get all the skills to run a little business. So they know invoicing, printing, packaging, putting together, sort of a little cheese box, and they could be employed elsewhere in a small food business as well. So it's sort of skill training. The girls work with us, and these are usually young girls in the early 20s. So they do get married and move on. But it's a skill they learn with us.
Wow, fantastic. And you empower them to have that confidence to go on and do other jobs. So what I was going to say, do any of them stay with you for a long period of time? And how do they have to apply for a grant to come and to work with you, or they just come through the scheme?
No, they just, well, no, there is Anu, again, Anuradha, my business partner, she has a skill training program that she runs, which is, people who are differently able. So there are people who without vision who are trained on telecalling. There are wheelchair bound people who are trained on different skills. So the idea is to make them employable, and this doesn't have to be just with us. We are almost sort of a part of their journey. We impart certain skills which makes them employable elsewhere as well. And there have been people who have stayed on with us for about 3 years, but like I said, they're quite young and they do tend to move on.
And do any of them go to set up and carry on making cheese on their own?
No, hasn't happened yet, but we'll be very happy if that happens.
We can't compete with this woman who can make amazing cheese. This cheddar is delicious. This cheddar G is absolutely gorgeous. It is it's got umami flavors. I'm so sorry for people who haven't got any to try, but it is just absolutely gorgeous. It's a milky yellow color, just delicious.
It's smoky and woody on the rind.
A soft texture. It's just crumbling a little bit. It's hard to show you in the light I've got here. Sorry, not set up properly. And you're not trying because it's 11 p, nearly midnight now.
It's past 12. So.
It's very savoury though. So the rennet in that is a
microbial rennet.
Yeah, micro. So it's a vegetarian rennet.
It's a crime, Tracy, to use animal rennet in the country as a cheesemaker. We cannot use animal rennet. I could potentially go to jail for that, so I'm not trying that.
No, don't try that, please. We still want to have you, and we still want to have your amazing cheeses and your amazing smile. Keith's teasing me here. He's saying, "Enjoying yourself there, Tracy?" Yes, I am. So the leaves, instead of a Cornish yarg, a lot of people in the webinar will know this is wrapped in nettle leaves. So you've used the leaves,
Sangiovese. It's Sangiovese leaves from the vineyard.
From the vineyard.
Yes, from organic Sangiovese grape leaves. So it's two things. So cheddars are cloth bound, right? And so instead of binding it with a cloth, they're tightly wrapped in the leaf. So it's both the Cornish yarg and the cheddar sort of coming together. And that was the idea behind it.
Yeah, and it does form quite a rind. I mean, that is, if I can you can see there, guys, it has got quite a rind on it. So, and it's quite firm at the rind. It's beautiful. So you leave the leaves on for the 6 months while it's maturing. And I just need to ask this question. I'm sorry. I hope I'm answering some of everybody else's questions as well. You were saying about maturing rooms. So how do you mature these? Are they in fridges, or because it must be a nightmare because it's so warm?
They're not fridges. They're what we call bottle chillers over here. Those large display fridge that you have in supermarkets.
Yes.
So we use them. We keep them at the warmest, and the warmest is about 6 or 8 degrees. And then we use a combination of leaving the door open and sometimes put a little water. And inside each one of them, I try to create a unique microclimate.
Wow.
Which is
a skill in itself. But I can understand, because one of your lovely photos, has got those fridges behind. So I thought that
in the background. Yeah. Which is I put it out there often to tell people that it's okay. You don't need a cave. You can do this. So it's going to be very difficult to look for a cave. So
yeah, no, impossible. Avril is asking, are any of the cheeses exported at the moment from India? I don't think you do. You're consuming.
No.
Created such a market, haven't you, to
yes,
sell the cheese there?
Yeah. So export is not something. export is something, yeah, we send throughout the country, and it's exactly a year today. I mean, in Jan this week. Jan 29th last year is when we launched the website. So it marks, so today we actually launched a new thing called Queso Chennai, because our website was Eat More Cheese, and people would often land up looking for Queso Chennai instead of Eat More Cheese.
Yeah.
So the Instagram today is so it's been a year
on the our website. Then. And would you like to export the cheese?
Oh, absolutely, working on it. And I think there's a good friend of mine who might be on the group today. He's the one who helped me get the cheese across to you. That's Avinash. I don't know if he's still around or he's gone to sleep, but yeah, well, he's still here.
Oh, so hi. Please, we want more. Send it over. So shall we quickly go through the others? We've got a few minutes. Shroomami. Yes. Have I said that right? Shroomami.
Yes. So I wanted a cheese with oodles of umami, and I think the cheese that I had in my mind was the Morbier. It's gamey, it's meaty, and so instead of ash, I used the ash of shiitake. I sort of roasted a shiitake mushroom and used that and tried to create this washed rind cheese.
So this split actually, so you can see the inside of the mushroom. It's like a mushroom powder, I suppose, is it? Or
yes, it's a shiitake mushroom powder. Yes.
Yeah, and it's not washed. Is it washed rind?
It is a washed rind, but it's not washed for too long. We just washed it for about 3 weeks, so it's not very sticky on the surface. But the sort of the paste of the cheese has got a little elasticity to it.
Yeah, so but like a Morbier, it's very it is very elastic. I'll show you on another bit. Let me cut a better bit so I can show the camera. It is very elasticy. You are a blooming good cheesemaker. It's easy. Yet some of these guys just make one cheese, and you make heaps.
So I have to say that when the whole pandemic happened, and I was looking at sort of doing something a little more productive, of course, Academy of Cheese and my first session with Patrick, and that gave me a lot of I think the make and the post make, and I have to tell you, Tracy, this is the platform has been brilliant, because I just thought that I had stumbled upon a formula to make a lot of different cheese and to be able to create something new. So if somebody gets the make and the post make right, if you understand how it goes, then you create your own formula and create new cheese. And that's the reason I picked up these 4 cheese to send to you, was actually that I used my learning from the Academy model and created this cheeses. So
oh, that's fantastic to hear. Thank you. That's really, really good to hear, though. But they are amazing cheeses, and I think this I don't like truffle, so this is a fantastic alternative, and it isn't truffly at all. You can really taste the sort of yeast and but it's mushroom, but it's much more
it's savory. More earthy.
Yeah,
it's more earthy. It's very savory.
Good description.
And I wanted that little elasticity from a Morbier. So
yeah, it's absolutely delicious, and it looks stunning. It looks absolutely stunning when it arrived. I hope the other 3 people, so Mike and Natasha and Barbara, I need you to tell us what you're tasting as well on these, please. So shall we move to the paprika provolone, because this one sort of stood out to me, but actually, tasting these others again now, I may be wrong, but I showed you this before, guys. So tell us about it while I hold that up to the camera.
So the idea behind a provolone happens to be one of my favorite ones. I mean, cheese that I love. And so this is like, not a provolone dolce, but a provolone picante. And when there is a little tart or a picante to that, I wanted not salty, but something a little smoky, sort of little more engaging. So a smoked paprika is what came to my mind. So the cheese is made, and then by the 3rd week, I rub it with a little bit of olive oil and smoky paprika, and then it's just left to age.
It smells quite acidic when you smell it. You've got quite a strong acidity, quite, almost I can smell sharp. And
but it's not very sharp on your palate. When you eat it, it's pleasant. It's not.
Mike, who is one of the ones that who had the cheeses, he said, I did not want to say anything as to not laud about it, boast, but he says, wow. Wow. Natasha likes the shumami, has a sort of smoky flavor. Yeah.
Thank you.
It is gorgeous, and it's weird. It's a hard cheese, but it tastes fresh. It has got that, you can understand your base cheese and then the flavor around it. I have to say that one of the cheeses that are being affinered for Affineur of the Year finals, Brindisa have got, this reminds me of what you've done here. So Brindisa have taken the Quicks cheddar and stripped it of its cloth at 3 months, and then they've been coating it in paprika and olive oil, Spanish paprika and olive oil, obviously, and rubbing it for 9 months, and they've got another 3 months to go.
Amazing.
Unbelievable, the molds that have been growing on that. Do you get that it grew like it's soft and almost like a wrinkly that you get on a Longra or a Crottin mold? Have you been getting, do you get that on this?
Not on this one. I will show you some other, I did leave some of the tom to just get a lot of this one gets a lot of just the geotrichum on the top, the candidate, so you'd see patches of white. It's kept very differently, and also the fact that this is a buffalo milk, so it's extremely high fat, so it ages very. So the point that you made about the cheese is mature but still has a freshness to it, and that's owing to the buffalo milk. Because of the high fat, it breaks down very slowly, so you do get those picante, the savory notes and all of that, but still it's really nice and fresh on your palate.
It is, most definitely. It's beautiful, absolutely stunning. Thank you. I feel very privileged. If I've got any bits left, Keith, I'll send them to you in the post. They sound amazing. Let's book flights to Chennai. We're all coming.
We'll have some sent to you, Keith. Yes.
Yeah. And then the final one is this amazing turmeric leaf wrap cheese. So tell us about that.
Oh, that's just to, like I said, I think I did mention a little about the cheese. The turmeric leaf is something which has immense significance for me. And I love goat cheese. I mean, I think I could eat some goat cheese every day. So it's just a very simple, fresh goat cheese. And it's wrapped in the turmeric leaf. It's left for about a month, wrapped like that, so that the herbaceous notes. So goat milk by itself is fruity, a little herbaceous, grassy, and
it smells quite fruity.
Yes,
I think it's because it's been wrapped and travelled a long way. It's good. It's very soft, guys. It's quite squidgy, and would it normally have that much moisture? I suppose the moisture stays.
It does.
It's wrapped in the leaf, and it came. I think some of you. I posted up some pictures on Instagram and on social media for you to see it wrapped in its beautiful little parcel that it came in. It was just delightful to receive.
And it's actually the fiber from the banana pit. So banana plant, that's the fiber that was wrapped with. It was a natural string. So
I love the whole concept of it all. That's delicious. Like you say, it's a very gentle, fresh goat's cheese, but it has that herbaceous hint from the leaf. So when in obviously Indian cooking, turmeric is very, very yellow, isn't it? Turmeric powder.
Yeah, but I don't use the turmeric as such. There is a feta style that I wrap a little turmeric and pepper on top of it, but I don't infuse the cheese with a lot of turmeric. Turmeric is it's an antimicrobial agent. Turmeric is very high. So I don't want it to interfere with the cheese, interfere with the microbes. So a little bit on the surface is good. The leaf is good, but I don't infuse turmeric on the cheese. Yeah.
Cool. Okay, got it. I knew you'd have the answer. It's fantastic, absolutely amazing. So has anybody got any more questions for Namrata, because we're kind of running out of time, but it's fascinating. I applaud you for all that you're doing and all these different styles. I mean, how many years have you been making cheese? Not that long.
No, 5 years now.
5 years, that's all. Sometimes I know that the Trethowan brothers, it took them 5 years to develop Pitchfork. You know, they took a long time over that one, and which is perfect. You know, it came second in the World Cheese Awards. It's like, or third. It's like best cheddar, whatever it was. But it's these are amazing, and I think you've just caught the attention. There was one question actually. Someone said about the it's kind of going away from flavors now, but more about how do you see the Indian cheese making in India progressing? You know, do you see it as more cheesemakers coming on board?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, Tracy, I think I've been saying that to a lot of cheesemakers, that the last 5 years, if we grew 5 times, in the next 5 years, we're going to grow 50 times. I mean, that's how the market is growing. Rapidly, the consumer is looking for traceability, you know, in food. So they want to know where the food is coming from, which farm the milk is coming from, who are you working with, what has gone into it, what are your ingredients. These are the kind of questions that people are asking. And the market for food and artisanal food is exploding in India. So we need more cheesemakers. We need mongers as well. So yes. the level 1 course is amazing for that.
Yes. So you're going to be, I mean, you sell your at Chennai, you have a shop area where people can walk in and buy, don't you, or not? No.
Not at the moment, but we're planning to. Yeah. We just an online store now because of COVID. We do not encourage people to come in and buy. We did not stop the storefront for a bit, but hopefully things would be fine, and then we would be back to that.
Cool. So if anybody in the webinar here that doesn't live in India, or does live in India, could come and set up cheese making with you, and away they go.
Oh yes, absolutely.
I mean, the crucial question is, can you make a profit out of it and make a business from it? You obviously can, because you've been doing it and building it for 5 years.
Absolutely. People can, and the part of the training that I do with cheesemakers is also working on a business. It's very crucial to recognize who your customer is, how you're going to get your first 50 and then 100. What are you trying to do? Sometimes I think what has happened in the recent past, I've seen that people my path has been very different. You know, the Eleftheria Mumbai, who won the silver award, her path is very different. She's been doing this from 2013. But sometimes you look at someone and think, you know, I can do exactly the same thing, but you don't have to. You need to understand what your market is. And so I come from a business consulting background, hence I try to veer people and give them that thinking as well.
Combine the two. It's fantastic. Well, I applaud you greatly. And I thank you so much for staying up so late to present this to us
that's lovely,
at a UK time that we could all be here. I hope everybody who has joined us has enjoyed this as much as I have. Watch this space, because Namrata will be back, and hopefully we'll get to the UK.
If I've not answered the questions, please connect on Instagram, or Tracy could connect us. I'm happy to get back. I haven't been looking at questions, so if there is anything, then please feel free to send me a question. I'll get back.
We've covered most of them. So yeah, sure. Follow Namrata on Instagram, which is Chennai, isn't it, on Instagram?
Yeah.
Which is the key one, and lots of lovely stories and beautiful pictures of in that gorgeous light that you've got over there. But thank you again so much, and let's connect again soon. Keep training those people in Academy of Cheese. It's fantastic. We're all the way over there in India as well.
Thank you so much, Tracy. This is much appreciated.
No
It's-
worries. And good night.